What was that?
Oh Lord, it's the Queen B.
Regina George.
Don't look her in the eye!
You could be really hot if you changed, like, everything.
Mean Girls, a bold new take on the original. This was something else in a variety of ways. Releasing with a few issues, some weird advertising, and an over-reliance on the source material being one of them, we have the new Mean Girls film, 20 years after the original came out. There's a lot of discussion about this film and a lot of surprisingly bad reviews that I don't feel are warranted, but are certainly understandable. Let me explain as to whether this film is fetch or gruel or not. This film follows... Wait, do I really need to summarize Mean Girls for like the one person who hasn't seen the original 2004 film? Or Heathers, I guess. It's a classic. Come on. A girl in a new town in America runs into a popular girl clique at her high school and shenanigans ensue. Is that enough? Okay, cool. The kicker is this film, surprising a lot of people apparently, is not a remake of the 2004, but is instead a movie version of the Broadway musical. So many people didn't realize this was a musical, according to a lot of the one-star reviews I've seen, and I can see how they didn't know. This wasn't advertised as a musical at all, which is starting to be a thing. I didn't know Wonka was a musical. Hell, I didn't know The Color Purple was a musical until I looked into it, and I was like, hey, what? Getting a little off topic here. This is all happening because focus groups reacted negatively when studios were searching into whether or not focus groups were interested in watching musical movies, as opposed to when they weren't advertised as musicals and instead bold new takes, yada yada yada. You just gotta pay more attention when you're going to go see something nowadays, I guess. That sucks, but whatever. Maybe they're onto something. I think it's a little too early to tell, but whatever. Honestly, it all is a bit bizarre to me. The music in this is a huge thing, and there's barely any snippets of it in the trailer, aside from one or two quick glimpses of characters dancing, and yet it's an integral part of this movie's identity. So, I don't know. There just really isn't anything here that lets you know this is a musical. What? You're telling me that the single music note in the logo isn't clue enough for you? That's not very fetch. In all seriousness, I do appreciate that this isn't a remake, even with OGs returning like Tina Fey as Miss Norbury and Tim Meadows as Principal Duval. Mean Girls from 2004 is an absolute classic and has aged remarkably well that a remake just doesn't make sense to me, unless you wildly change the story in some way. So this being a new version of the story based on the Broadway version, so double versionception, I guess, gives this an excuse to exist. The story is exactly the same, although updated to a more modern era with a bunch of smartphones and TikToks and things like that. A lot of the more iconic lines are preserved, while others are changed slightly or given a different delivery, and overall this is still a very good time. The original film is still the better film in my opinion, but this is a different enough take that it's still unique and doesn't really need to be compared. That being said though, there are plenty of comparisons being made that I'll get into a bit later with the music and other versions and such. First off, the acting in this is very solid. Mostly. Cady Heron is now played by Angaria Rice, who does a great job giving Cady a fish out of water look without coming off as too dumb or confused. Her singing is okay. Again, I'll talk about that shortly. Jaquel Spivey as Damien is a ton of fun, being a sassy gay that the original Damien couldn't really be as all out as in the original, and this one is just a lot more out there. It's nice. He's also a tremendous singer, which makes sense since he's from Broadway, most recently being the usher in A Strange Loop. Probably the most well-known actor in here, though, is Auli'i Cravalho, sorry if I mispronounced that. Yes, Moana herself as Janice Imiike, not Ian. Her last name was changed to better fit Cravalho's ethnicity, and yet nobody seems to be making a stink about that, huh? Funny. I wonder why. She's an amazing singer in this, because of course she is. She's great, easily one of the best. Rather Be Me and Revenge Party are bops because of her. And then we have the plastics. Avantika as Karen is kind of just okay. She's a good singer, and I love her sexy song, but she gives Karen a bit too much of an airheaded attitude. I like my Karen like Debbie from The Amanda Show.
Look, this is my favorite expression. My daddy has a car. I love the waterfall machine.
dumb and bubbly but not stare into the abyss kind of airhead. She's still very funny though. BB Wood is Gretchen Wieners, who brings a surprising depth to the character, even getting her own small little musical number with a detail that is frustratingly never brought up again. Maybe it's explored more in the stage show, but it's dropped in this film, which is a real pity. I would have liked to see Gretchen have a bit more agency, especially what she goes through later on in the movie. And then of course, we have the Queen Bee of the Plastics, Regina motherfucking George, played by Renee Rapp, the same actress who portrayed her on Broadway. And yeah, oh my god, she's perfect. Absolutely perfect in this film. Gorgeous yet conniving, evil incarnate when need be, dismissive and yet in control, and with probably the best intro songs, and what a fantastic voice.
My name is Regina George.
Everything about this version of Regina is amazing. Props to Rapp because she completely nails it. No notes whatsoever. I love this Regina and can easily see why the entire school worships while still being completely terrified of her. So this is a pretty stacked cast for the most part. The setting's nice too, with what looks like a real school for a lot of the interior shots, and the cinematography really goes to help show off the rest of the set too, along with the song numbers mostly being shot like music videos. There are wonderful, very long one-take shots that follow characters as they sing through various rooms, up and down hallways, sometimes outside, even when they're singing directly to the camera, and it just really goes to show how busy this is. There are so many extras, quite a few that are playing the instruments in the songs, which is a fantastic detail that I love to see, and some sequences like Revenge Party have so many props and choreographed actions that I can't even imagine how many takes they had to do and clean up between them. It just looks fantastic. Even the House Party song and dance numbers look really, really good, especially with such a claustrophobic set. It's a house, it's not a school gymnasium or something, and it all looks so very, very good. A lot of fun, a lot of work clearly. Some changes to the story though feel a little odd, but are nice to see. There's nothing major, but some cute details like Miss Norbury's relationship, or Cady now having a single mother instead of two parents. They're all just fine. The big one is opening up smartphones and introducing TikTok and showing videos to each other and how that spreads through the general populace. The story is so similar though to the original that I wish it explored something a bit different here or there, like I mentioned with Gretchen. During her solo song, she mentions a background with Regina and questions herself, and it's just never fully explored. I feel like that could have been really interesting and brought some much needed story beats that feel like a missed opportunity to me. Otherwise, it's fine, it's serviceable, it's Mean Girls. You know exactly what happens and when it's going to happen and what order it's going to happen. The music is the true difference here, and there are some striking differences from the Broadway production. From a few changed lyrics to different instruments and even note changes, I'm not going to compare the two, and not because Broadway will win every time, even though it absolutely will. Broadway and film are two very different beasts. I've seen so many TikToks of people comparing Stupid with Love from the Broadway soundtrack to the movie soundtrack like this.
I'm astounded and I'm plussed. I am filled with calculus. Does this guy work out? He must. I'll sweaty at the gym. I'm astounded and nonplussed. I am filled with calculus.
And yeah, there's a very huge difference between the two, but what this is missing is context. Plus, I feel like they don't know what nonplussed means, but whatever. Of course, the Broadway show is going to be more upbeat and energized. It's a stage show. The actors are encouraged to belt and sing loudly, while in the movie, it can be pulled back a bit and kind of go with the actors and follow the scene and general context. Plus, if you listen again, you'll notice the difference in instruments too. The movie here likes to focus on instruments in the shot, or what would otherwise be in the area, quote-unquote school band type things. It's also used to show characters playing the instruments in a bunch of certain songs too. This is mostly seen in Rather Be Me and is a stylistic choice that I can really get behind. But I do prefer the Broadway version overall. But I'm saying that I understand why it's different and that it makes sense from a stylistic standpoint. Plus, a lot of these TikTokers clearly haven't seen the film and are just comparing the soundtracks. Hey, maybe don't do that. You need all the context. Still, valid criticism is valid, and some of them do bring up good points. Still, quite a few of these songs are bops. Mostly auli'i Carvalho's and Renee Rapp's, but still. Oh yeah, and there's also this bizarre focus on Megan Thee Stallion cameos. Can we stop that? Please? I get she's popular and all, but she's getting shoehorned into anything and everything whether she fits into it or not, and it's annoying to me as a media consumer. She has a couple quick cameos and is the featured guest rapper on Rap's end credit song, so I guess it's harmless enough, but still, stop. It's not gonna age well, especially if her career ever takes a nosedive or she says something problematic. I don't know. Megan Thee Stallion's fine. She's a good rapper. She's a good singer. I like what she does, but she doesn't need to be shoehorned into every movie and show I watch. Overall, this movie is very fun, if not flawed production. It's a new version, technically, that justifies its existence, but doesn't change enough of the story in my opinion, and still has great songs, but suffers from playing it a bit too safe and with a dreadful advertising scheme that I have no idea if it's gonna pay off or not. Looks like it is, so who knows. It's still definitely worth your time and energy, and is still very funny and modernizes everything very well with smartphones and streaming and whatnot. I'd say if you like the original Mean Girls, or if you like musicals that are poppy in general, or hell, if you like Heathers, the movie or the musical, go see this. It's a ton of fun and cements Tina Fey as a standout in comedic writing. Mean Girls, the 2024 movie, gets an 8 out of 10 from me. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for another one. I do like musicals. I've seen a lot of Broadway shows and I've seen a lot of movie musicals, and I just get behind them a lot. What's funny with Mean Girls is it always felt to me like it was trying to copy the Heathers movie. If you haven't seen that, stars Winona Ryder. Very good, very, very campy. Gets a little outrageous. Mean Girls feels like a pulled back, more realistic version of it while getting slightly more cartoony at points. And Heathers had a musical too, which is bizarre how similar these two properties are, and yet they're kind of following the exact same trend. I don't know. It's also funny considering one of the actresses in Heathers also came to play Janice in Mean Girls on Broadway, which is very interesting, very funny how that works out, but whatever. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the negative attention this movie is getting is because people didn't realize it's a musical. But then again, I didn't see any of that negative attention when it was going at Color Purple or Wonka, which again, I haven't seen yet, but I knew they were musicals, just not immediately. It took a little bit of time. I hope that we start getting movies advertised properly again, because it's frustrating, and I can imagine how concerning it might be to go into this movie thinking that it's just a remake of the 2004 movie and immediately met with characters starting to sing. That would be a little, whoa, what the heck's going on type of deal. I still think Tina Fey is a fantastic writer, so I guess we'll just see what else she does next. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Did you know this was a musical? Are you gonna go see it? Do you think the Broadway version's better? Do you think the 2004 version's better? Let me know down below. And after that, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss a video, and that's it. Have a great day, and if you're not, have a better one. See ya, and Happy New Year!
I'm just a ghost in your stereo, the fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost song I know, and I'm just a ghost in your stereo.